All right, welcome back. Today we will be talking about the ASM 8 stack, which stands for the Aligned Sales Method 8 question sequence that if you follow this, you will be able to get absolute clarity in terms of where somebody wants to go and how you can help them not only get there, but to break through to that next level of identity. So this is more so high ticket sales, but from an identity based perspective in terms of the sequence you follow, the sales structure to the sales process to help you and them get clarity on what's going on and who do they want to become, but also what needs to shift and what happens if they don't shift these things that are holding them back. These two will become the dual forces that will help them break through the pleasure and then the pain. So take a look. All right, excellent. So this is the seven-figure sales structure that will unlock your skill to enroll high-ticket coaching clients elegantly without chasing or being pushy. So here are the 8 segments, the 8 question topics you will need to focus on. Now, for clarity, of course, it all depends on who you're selling. What is your ideal client profile, your ICP? Are they someone who's coming in and they're aware of their problems? Are they coming in and they are aware of the solutions, or where are they at in that buying journey? Because for someone who is starting something new, then you can't really ask them what it is that they are struggling with because they haven't started yet, right? They're looking to get started with your help. However, if you're looking to help somebody who's already started and they're in a lot of pain, they might not even really know the vision or their why now until we thoroughly examine and understand where they're at, their challenges, and what's really going on. So, assuming those two things are taken care of because you know your ideal client better than I do, my thing here is okay, great. Once you're ready to talk about their goals, right? Because maybe you've already covered their challenges, or let's say this is a make money online type of offer that you have, and there really aren't many challenges with what they're going through. They're really just struggling to actually get started, or they don't even know how to get started. Then that's where it makes sense to jump right into the vision. But that's just a bit of a asterisk. So what are these 8 questions? So the first question is the vision. What are their goals? What are the milestones? What do they want? What do they need, right? What's the vision of success? So there's many ways we can ask that question. We're going to get into a role play in just a little bit, but that's the first question, getting very, very clear on the specifics, the tangibles, right? Not just the broad stroke, yeah, I want to be more successful. Or, yeah, I just want to be happier. Yeah, I just want to be more consistent. No, let's get into specific scenarios. What actually is that vision of success? Then we get into the second piece, which is the why. What's the big why? What's driving them? Why is that vision important? Why does that matter for them? Why is this something they're looking at right now? Which we get into the timing sequence here, which is the why now. But these two, as you can see, are closely related. So once they tell us their goals, what they want, what it looks like, and what it would mean for them, we would get into also their drivers. What do they value? What's the big why around this vision for them? Then we get into the why now. Now, for something like this, you do want to um, present it in a way where you're asking them, "Hey, can I ask you a personal question? Hey, can I ask you an honest question? Hey, can I ask you something that may come off a little bit personal?" You want to preface this question so that way they can give you a real answer, an answer that actually matters for them. So usually they'll say, "Yeah, go for it," or "Yeah, ask me anything," right? You ask them, and the tonality is very important here. You ask them, yeah, so I see your vision and kind of why this matters, but I guess is something going on in your life or in the business that's causing you to say, you know what, I think it's time. I think it's time to really do this, or kind of like why now though? Okay, so really emphasizing the curiosity, showing through your tonality, through your energy that you really want to know, and that you're not just following some sort of script, right? That's why these aren't written out questions. It's more of like, what's the topic we need to hit as you're going through this sales process? Okay, great. Once they give us these things, we can pivot right into, okay, and so what's the end game? Ultimately, what is this all about? Okay, now we're getting into identity. Or who do you need to become to sustain that level of success that you're looking for? What's the identity? Okay, this is very important because this will help us understand, are they aligned to the ICP that we know we can help? What is it that they actually want? Beyond the money, beyond the success, all that stuff, what really matters for them? They will tell you. Then this is all the pleasure side of the engines, right? There's two powerful engines. There's the pleasure, then there's the pain. Okay. So now we get into the pain. We get into, okay, well, I know they want all of this, but also what do they want to move away from? That's what they want to move towards, 1 through 4. But what do they want to move away from? So now we get into something like this where you pre-frame them and say, yeah, because you don't seem like the guy who likes to settle. Or, yeah, you know what? It sounds like you're not the type of person who likes to settle, right? No. Okay, so now on the flip side of that, because we're human, there's usually a part of us that we want to move away from. There's usually some habits that we know are keeping us from ultimately moving forward. So for you, who's that person that you don't want to become? What's the identity that you want to move away from? So again, these two stacked right on top of each other back to back will give them a lot of clarity of who do they ultimately want to be and who's that version of themselves that they don't want to settle for. Okay, there's many ways to ask this. Again, we're going to get into a role play in just a second, but now we're going to get into what happens if nothing changes, and that's the consequence question. Notice how we're asking this question after we build a lot of clarity and rapport. We're understanding them, we're listening to them, we're helping them feel heard and understood. Now we get into the consequence. And the consequence isn't what happens if you don't buy this. It's not even what happens if you don't solve the problem you're dealing with. It's what happens if, for one reason or another, you end up becoming the person you don't want to become and you're not able to break through and become that identity. Obviously, we would want to have a name for that identity, right? You don't become that successful entrepreneur. You don't become that present father. You don't become that boss babe, right? So we're gonna ask those type of questions. Yeah. So if for one reason or another you stay stuck in that loop where you're still struggling with procrastination, I guess what's really at stake? What's really at stake if you don't become that boss babe? Like, what would you miss out on? So there's many ways to ask this question, but we always, always, always want to ask it, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it feels a bit awkward. A lot of times it feels awkward because we haven't set the foundation to be able to earn the right to ask a consequence-based question. So again, really figuring out what's at stake, what would you miss out on, what happens if nothing changes, what happens if you don't become that person that you really want to become. Okay? And then these last two pieces, they're going to give us a lot of clarity in terms of what are the solutions that are going to be the best fit for them, and if we are fully aligned to the solution they actually need. So now they'll tell us the big consequence, what they will miss out on. It's usually very emotional. So then to add structure to that emotion, we get into the decision point. And we ask them, okay, so with all of this in mind, like, what's the decision you have to make? What's the decision you want to make so that way you actually break through? What's the decision that you've been putting off that you know will help you ultimately reach your goals? This is very important to give them clarity that regardless if they buy or we sell them or we close them, what do they actually want, right? At the end of the day, what's the decision they need to make? And last but not least, we asked them, okay, great. So then what do you feel you need? So you made the decision to actually be a successful entrepreneur and you want to launch your business. What do you feel you need to actually get there? Using a metaphor here, we can say, yeah, what's that bridge to take you from where you are now to that next level? Is it accountability, direct feedback, events? Like, what specifically do you feel you'll need to actually break through? All right, so when we zoom out, this aligned sales method 8 stack is just a question sequence that once you go through the sequence, after, of course, again, just to preface this, after figuring out their challenges, if they've tried to solve this, if they have, what are they dealing with? What are the challenges? What have they tried to solve that? Have they invested in themselves before? Are they in a tough position financially? Some of those little things may come up. However, these are going to be very important to actually move the needle for them. All right, so I'm going to be doing the role play today on a different day when I recorded the other bit, but what we want to do is go into ChatGPT, prompt it, and then I'm gonna stick with a offer that I'm familiar with, let's say a brotherhood, a mastermind, or something like that. And what I want you to see is just the sequence, the process, the structure of how to ask these questions in such a way where you're going to give the individual clarity of where they're at, what do they want, why do they want it, but also clarity for yourself. Is this individual aligned to our container? Can we actually help them? Do we actually want to help them? And then we'll take it from there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click start and let's do the role play. All right, hey, what's going on, John? This is Luis here with the Brotherhood Mastermind. How's it going?
Hey, Luis. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today. I'm excited to see if this is a fit, and I'm happy to dive in with any questions you have for me.
Yeah, man, of course, for sure. Well, I'll be taking some notes over here, but do you have a pen and paper or somewhere to take notes on yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a notepad right here, so I'll jot down anything important as we go. Just let me know what you want to ask, and I'm ready.
Yeah, man, for sure. So, first of all, I'll tell you a little bit more about this call and how it works if you want, jot this down. But today's really all about clarity. Clarity. And so the way this works is that we'll figure out a little bit more about where you're at in your journey when it comes to business, beyond business, what's going on there. And then, of course, if it seems that we can help with one of our brotherhood or mastermind containers or events, and I'll share some ideas there just as this call progresses. Okay.
That sounds really good. Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. I'm definitely ready to get clear, so I'll just follow your lead and share what's been going on for me, both in business and at home. I'm all ears.
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, tell me a little bit more about yourself. Where are you tuning in from today?
Yeah, so I'm based out in Austin, Texas. Like I said, I run a business in the digital marketing space, kind of a consultancy. So I've got a small team, but it's a lot of moving parts. And yeah, I just really want to balance all of that with being the kind of dad and husband I know I can be.
Of course, man. No, that's powerful. So, tell me a little bit more about that vision of success. Well, first of all, like for example, when's your birthday?
Ah, yeah, good question. My birthday's in late September, so I'm a Virgo, if that means anything. But yeah, when I think about success, honestly, it's not just hitting a revenue goal. It's more about being fully present with my family, having time for my own health, and feeling like I'm growing as a man, not just as a business leader.
Okay, so for example, between now and in late September, it's May now. What are some milestones that you want to hit? Of course, there's stuff outside of the business, which I'd love to get to, but let's start on the business side first and foremost. What are some of the monthly revenues you're looking to hit?
Yeah, so right now we're averaging about 50K a month, but by late September, I really want to push toward 80K consistently. So that means I've got to refine a few offers, maybe bring on another contractor and get some systems really dialed in. Once that's stable, then I can focus more on the family and personal side.
Oh, okay, okay. I got you, man. So, yeah, I guess from your perspective, have you tried anything recently over the last month or two to kind of make some of these changes or not yet?
Yeah, I have actually. I brought on a part time project manager a few weeks ago to help take some tasks off my plate. And I've been experimenting with batching my client calls so I can be more efficient. It's helped a bit, but I know there's still a gap between what I'm doing and where I want to be.
Yeah, for sure, man. So from your perspective, what do you feel that that gap is? I know you talked about possibly bringing on another individual, refining your offers, getting systems, but what do you feel is really going on?
Yeah, I think it's really a mindset thing as much as it is the tactics. I still catch myself holding back from delegating fully, and I think a big part is I'm scared to lose that sense of control. So I know I need to trust the team more, but it's just that last bit of letting go.
Of course, man. Okay, so let's zoom out a little bit. So for you, success over the next few months is number one, scaling to 80K months. Number two, possibly growing the team. But I think more importantly, you just hit the nail on the head. It's yourself, right? You want to evolve as a leader, as a business owner, not just be a business operator where you're constantly doing a lot of the work there. So then, I'm curious, like, have you invested in masterminds or coaching programs or anything like that to help you figure this whole thing out?
Yeah, I have. I did a couple of business coaching programs last year. Some were good, but a lot of it was really focused on just growth metrics, not the deeper personal stuff. So that's why I'm curious about this, because it feels like you're blending both sides, and that's what I really need.
Exactly, man, and that's what I'm excited to get to. So let's dive into that. From your perspective, when you think about success and what that means for you, man, yeah, what do you want to achieve beyond the business over the next few months as we look at your birthday in late September?
Yeah, that's a big piece for me. I really want to have a deeper connection with my kids. I want to be able to be fully present at their soccer games, not just half there because I'm checking my phone. And I also want to get back into a fitness routine, something that grounds me. So, really, it's about being intentional with my time, not just my business or revenue.
Man, that's powerful. Tell me a little bit more about your kids. How many kids do you have?
Yeah, so I've got a 9-year old daughter and a 6-year old son. They're both super curious and active. My daughter loves dance, and my son is all about soccer. So, I just want to be more than a weekend dad. I want to be present every step of the way.
I hear you on that one, man. Yeah, my son is 7, and so I'm right there with you. And at the end of the day, as well, the way I show up for my son, for my wife as well, actually affects me in all other areas. I'm curious, do you also like? Are you also married, or are you kind of co-parenting, or?
Yeah, I'm married. My wife and I have been together about 12 years now, and she's been really supportive, but I think we're both feeling that tension. Like we're both busy, and sometimes we don't carve out that intentional time together either. So that's a big part of it for me.
For sure, man. And so have you, out of curiosity, have you talked to her about this idea of possibly joining like a mastermind, a brotherhood to support you in some of these goals beyond business?
Yeah, I have. I mentioned it a few days ago, and she was actually really open to it. She said, if this helps me be more balanced and present, then she's all for it. So that's been really encouraging for me.
Wow, man. Yeah, because I mean, first of all, congrats. A lot of times, that's the missing link is that we as men have a vision and a path that we want to follow, but if we're not supported at home, that could be very challenging, of course, as we move forward. So, when you take a big step back and look at your goals of being present, scaling to 80K months, being there for your children, I'm sure for your wife as well. I guess what would you say is like the big why around this?
Yeah, I think the big why is really legacy. I don't just want my kids to see me as someone who made a lot of money or built a big business. I want them to see a dad who was fully engaged, who took care of himself, and who is intentional with his time and his purpose. And that's what drives me every day.
Oh, I love that, man. Yeah, because for you, let's say not even this September, but the following, right, in 2027, I guess, what do you feel would be different for the way you show up for your kids and for your wife once you start to really step into that mode of being a legacy builder?
Yeah, I think by then I'll have a lot more margin in my day. I'll be able to plan one on one time with them, like weekly adventures or little projects. I think I'll also have this calm, steady confidence because I won't be just reacting to the business. I'll be driving it intentionally. And I think they'll feel that security from me.
I hear you, brother. So then when you really look at it, what's really so actually can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah, of course. I'm an open book. Whatever you're comfortable asking, I'm ready to reflect on.
Yeah, so because I see the journey you've been on here, you've been a part of several groups and you're doing well financially, but obviously you want to grow. You want to grow as a father, as a husband, and a few other areas as well in your fitness. But I guess did something happen recently that might have caused you to say, you know what, I think it's time. It's time to really level up, or kind of like why now though?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think what happened is a few weeks ago, I was at one of my son's soccer games, and he just looked up at me and asked, Dad, are you coming home early today? And I realized I had to say no because I had another call. And that just hit me really hard. So it was that moment I realized I can't keep doing this alone or just on autopilot. So it's time.
Yeah, that's right, man. And I hear you on that. And sometimes our children are kind of the best mirrors to help us wake up in that sense. So then as you metaphorically look at yourself in the mirror, who's that like 10.0 version of you that you want to become, that you want to step into? Like, what's the identity that's actually going to hold that level of success that you're after?
Yeah, I think that 10.0 version of me is a calm, intentional leader, someone who doesn't just react, but acts with purpose. He's present, he's consistent, and he's not afraid to ask for support. He's also deeply connected to his family, his faith, and his own personal growth. And I think that's the guy I'm stepping into.
I hear you, man. And also, a lot of times too, when it comes to identity, we are clear on what we want and who we want to become. But sometimes the biggest clarity we need is who do we need to stop being? Who is that what is that identity that we don't want to become, right? So for you, we know where you're headed, that intentional leader, but also kind of what's the flip side? Like who do you want to stop being? What are some of the habits or things that you know that you need to stop doing to actually be able to reach that?
Yeah, that's a huge piece. I think I need to stop being the guy who constantly tries to control every detail. I need to stop putting off hard conversations, and I need to stop overloading my schedule with things that don't align with my big why. So, yeah, it's about letting go of that old, reactive, stressed version of me.
Yeah, and then just to kind of get a little bit more clarity there for you, why do you think that happens, man? Like why do you feel you're so yeah, just like overloaded and you're trying to control every detail just to see how we can help you with that.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is just fear. Like fear that if I don't stay on top of every little thing, something will fall apart or I'll lose that edge that got me here. And I think it's also just habit. After years of doing it all myself, it's a default mode. So I think I need some practice letting go and trusting.
That's right, because here's another big piece as well. Like what happens if you don't? What happens if it's another September, right? 2, 3, 5 years from now, and you're still dealing with not being able to be present, not being able to be intentional, not being able to kind of let go and trust. I guess what's really the consequence? What's at stake here?
Yeah, man. I mean, the big risk is that I look back and realize I missed it. Missed these years with my kids when they were young, or I lose the trust and closeness with my wife. And I don't want to get to a point where the business is big, but my family's a stranger. So, yeah, that's really what's at stake.
Yeah, man, because if your family becomes a stranger, I mean, beyond the obvious, I guess like what does that mean? Like what would you miss out on?
Yeah, I think I'd miss those little moments like bedtime chats, inside jokes, or just being able to laugh together without any distractions. And I guess at the end of the day, I'd miss feeling like a whole integrated person, not just a successful business owner, but a dad and a husband who's all in.
That's right, man. That's the biggest thing is just being all in. So why don't we even add that to the 10.0 identity, right? That next level is for sure an intentional leader, but I think maybe someone who's all in and all in can sometimes look like, hey, let's let go, let's trust, let's move forward, right? And be able to um yeah, I guess ultimately surrender to some extent, or kind of how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Being all in doesn't mean controlling every outcome. It means showing up fully, trusting the process, and knowing that letting go isn't losing something. It's actually allowing the right things to come in. So, yeah, I'm ready to step into that.
I love that, man. So, from your perspective, what's that decision? Like, what's the decision that you feel you need to make to actually like move forward and do it though?
Yeah, I think the decision is to commit to investing in this Brotherhood program, to show up every week, and to give myself fully to the process. And beyond that, it's deciding every day to take a small step, whether that's letting go of a task, having a tough conversation, or just being present. So it's really a daily decision, no turning back.
That's right. It's and you hit the nail on the head. Like regardless if you work with us or not, that's our duty to you is how can we help you be more present, be more intentional, surrender, let go, trust, right? And that's actually what gets me excited to share with you how we can support you. But from your perspective, man, I guess like what do you feel is kind of that bridge, right? What's that bridge that can actually get you from where you are now to that individual who's working to become that 10.0 version of yourself? Is it accountability, guidance? Like, what do you feel you need?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of both. I really need accountability, like a group that checks in on me, keeps me honest when I start slipping back, and also guidance, right? Someone who's been through this who can show me how to really structure these habits and these changes so that they stick. So, yeah, it's kind of that balance.
Okay, I got you, man. And then from your perspective, when you think about like accountability or guidance, what specifically does that look like in the sense of what do you feel has been missing from things you've tried in the past?
Yeah, I think what's been missing is that really personalized support. Like not just a checklist or a once a month check in, but someone who knows my business, knows my family, and really nudges me when I need it. So I think it's having that real time tailored guidance so I don't just feel like a number, but like a person in the group.
That's right, man. And another big thing that we tend to find is this idea of coachability, because we can be there, we can hold you accountable, we can guide you, but if you're not willing and able to put your ego aside and raise your hand when you need help and reach out to us, then also that's a broken link there. So is that something that you can commit to some extent? Is saying, you know what, yeah, I'm committed to not just be present, but to be coachable.
Yeah, absolutely. I can commit to that. I mean, I know I don't have all the answers, and I really don't want my ego to hold me back. So I'm ready to raise my hand, ask for help, and really trust the process. I know that's where the growth is.
I love that, brother. Okay, so before I share some ideas here with you, because for a fact I know we can help. There's several tiers that we have in mind, but I think I have the best one for you. Before I share all that here in a second, I always love to ask: is there anything else? Is there anything else you feel that we haven't covered yet, or that we should know about your situation?
Yeah, I think you covered a lot, but one thing that's been on my mind is just time commitment. I want to be fully present in the calls and the work, but I also want to make sure I'm not too stretched. So if you could just give me a sense of what the time expectations are, that would be really helpful as I decide.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And look, sometimes it's something that it just comes back down to like being all in. I mean, when you had your first child, you have two of them. Like, I'm sure you didn't have the time then, but you made the time because obviously our children are important to us, right? But anyways, for something like this, honestly, if you have an hour a week, on average in any given month, anywhere from 4 to 6 hours per month, that's going to be plenty. Okay, because we have sessions pretty much every week. We'll be there to hold you accountable. But also, the other big thing is the trips, right? The adventures, the retreats we go on about once a quarter. And so those tend to be 3 to 4 days, just depending on the specific trip. And then the cool thing is we always let you know at least 3 months in advance. So that way you have plenty of time to schedule that and work with your significant other to make sure everything is good.
That's really helpful. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. An hour a week plus those quarterly retreats, I can definitely make that work. And having the heads up on the trips is really reassuring. So, yeah, I'm feeling good about this.
All right, so next steps, go ahead and pull out there your pen and paper. I'll share a little bit more about what we're talking about. It's going to be a 12-month membership, so just let me know when you're ready to go.
Yeah, I've got my notepad ready and I'm all set. Go ahead and walk me through the details, and I'll make sure to jot everything down so I can be fully clear.
All right, so as you can see, we covered the entire process of the ASM 8 stack, right? We figured out what's their vision, why does that matter? Why does that matter now? Why now? Who do they need to become? What's the identity so that they actually hit that vision and then the goals that they're after? And then also, what happens if they don't step into that identity, right? What's the consequence? Like, well, first of all, like, who do they need to stop being? Who do they not want? Is it that they don't want to settle for? And then what is the consequence if they do end up settling, or they do end up running the same plays and kind of the same bad habits? And last but not least, the two things is like, okay, cool. What's the decision, right? Beyond working with us, like, what's that decision that you need to personally make to actually break through? This is a big piece because in really in the coaching space, that's where the transformation happens, is when we personally make a decision internally. So we are making that a part of the sales process, is asking them, like, what's the decision that you need to make to actually reach your goals, like regardless if you work with us or not. This is how you can get somebody's level of certainty raised to the highest levels, because you're literally giving them a chance to explore, you know what, yeah, I need to decide that I need to be more loving or more trusting or more strategic or more organized, more fearless, whatever. And then last but not least, naturally, it's like, cool, what do you feel you need to be more fearless, to be more organized? I think we can help you with this, and that. But what do you think? So those are the 8 topics, the 8 questions you need to cover. And of course, if you're able to do it in a way that's conversational, which if you don't really know how to do that, reach out to me, I'll take care of you. But this is the essence of the aligned sales method is we have a clear roadmap, we have a clear sales structure, and then we just follow it. Vision, why now, identity, the anti-identity, what's the consequence, what's the decision, and then what do they need, right? Also in the need section, we can figure out, cool, what have you tried, what hasn't worked, what do you need in terms of what's been missing, what do you feel is keeping you from doing this all on your own though? um we can get into other things as well. And as you saw there, a lot of the questions were geared to pre-handle objections, right? They were geared to figure out, is the wife involved? Is she supportive? We figured out the financial piece, right? They want to do 80K months or at 50K months. I didn't get into profits or all that stuff. But if a business owner is doing more than 20K a month, they should be relatively stable financially. We could always ask that though if we really need to. Sometimes what happens is that clients can show doubt and they're like, yeah, I've tried other things and a lot of stuff out there is kind of a bit of a scam. So you can dig into that in terms of like, what are you looking for? What was missing? What do you feel is keeping you from really doing this all on your own? Is it mindset, skill set, or being organized or something else? So, anyways, there's a lot of other questions you can ask in terms of discovery towards the tail end. The cool thing is that at that point they're going to be so open and even generous to give you really all the ammo or the things that you need to really position your offer in a way that's very customized to them. This is the key when it comes to the aligned sales method. It's not about gotcha or okay, now I have all the ammo to then like shoot your guard down and make you buy and kind of hard close you. No, it's really all about okay, cool. We're clear on where they're at. We're clear on what they want. Here's how we can help them. Here's why this matters. And then if it's aligned, if we want to work with them, if they want to work with us, then cool. Let's make it happen. Now, objections generally do come up because people are fearful or there's timing or just logistical things that they need to move money around or whatever. And so that's a whole different discussion. But this ASM, the aligned sales method process, the 8 stack, is going to help you tremendously if you're a coach, a consultant, and you don't really have a process to follow. Use this process, and believe me, you're going to get amazing results. I mean, for example, I was working with an incredible coach consultant, and she was already getting great results. She was getting good results in terms of like about 10K months, but with this process, as soon as she injected it into her business, we did a VIP, a one-to-one VIP day. Literally not even 2 weeks later, she closed a 10K client and she was feeling way more confident on her sales calls. She knew where to take the calls. She knew how to pre-handle objections. She knew what answers she was looking for. So she showed up even more confident, even more prepared, which then naturally helped the person on the other line, the prospect, feel even more confident because you show up confident and they will feed off of that energy. So give this a try. At the end of the day, you have nothing to lose because this is going to be a process that's going to just help you reach that next level of your sales skills as a coach, consultant, and a mentor. Reach out if you have any questions. We're here to support you. Take care.